Welcome to the Story Apothecary, a podcast filled with healing and medicinal stories. My name is Nana Tomova, and I'm a traditional storyteller and a pharmacist, and stories are medicines which I dispense. In this podcast, you'll find my prescriptions of stories for the body, mind, heart, soul, and for the earth. So I invite you to join me as we enter the healing world of stories together. Hello, and I'm so excited to share a story from the Isle of Skye with you today. It is one of my favourite Scottish stories. It's called The Dream Makers, and the poetic name of Skye in Gaelic is Isle of Skye, the island of mist. For if you have been there, the mists can descend upon you at any time and cover you up like a shroud. The story speaks for itself, and so I'll just start telling it for you. One beautiful sunny day, when the breeze was slight and the air was fragrant, a young girl with her lassie friends went to pick blaeberries. Now she was very serious about her job, but also she was very serious about having fun as they did it. And there was laughing, and there was gossip sharing, and there was singing. For the blaeberries, it is the same motion over and over again, and they are tiny against your fingers, and the pressure has to be just right. And well, it is fun, but after a while to fill up a whole basket, and a whole basket is filled rather slowly when some of the blaeberries go in your mouth. And so they would spend the time laughing and giggling. But this girl was taken in by the blaeberries more than her friends, for she saw the perfect trail up, and she took it. Against heather and hedge, she would make her way, following the juiciest of blaeberries, the bluest of blaeberries, until she couldn't hear the voices of her friends anymore. It was silent, and the weather changed, and everything became muffled. And she was colder now. The sun had disappeared from view, and a big fog, a mist, descended upon her, wrapping her like a cloak, like a shroud. She carried on walking, cold now, afraid. She didn't know whether to go east or west, north or south, but with her heart beating, she knew she was lost. She started to panic. She started to breathe quicker. She started to go 2 paces in one direction and then wonder if she'd made a mistake and turn the other way, and in no time at all, her heart beating even quicker, for she was going uphill, she saw around her the blaeberries had gone. The heather had gone too. There was no grass. It was the black Coolin Mountains. She had set off without care. She had set off with gladness in her heart. She had set off to have fun and to bring back a basket of blaeberries, share it with her family, maybe sell a few. She had been laughing, and now she was laughing no more. She had been singing, and now all she could do was weep. She heard noise. She knew she was being watched, but because the mists were so thick, she couldn't see who was behind them. Her heart was racing. Her mind was racing too. Who was watching her? And then In a moment of panic, she would think about the stories that she was told that would wake her up in the middle of the night with a pant and sweat upon her skin, the stories of wolves or giants or trolls or some creatures that might tear her, harm her. She just thought it couldn't get worse. But the creatures got closer and closer through the fog, dozens of eyes across, watching her, staring at her. And they all got closer and closer. She closed her own eyes. Terror filled her heart now. She could feel the trickle of sweat upon her skin. When she opened them, the creatures were so close to her face. She could see them now. They were deer. It was a herd of deer. Such a relief. And she began to laugh. And she began to cry out of sheer relief. There was a softening in her, a relaxation. And then the girl noticed this one deer came closer, almost to her face, and deer rarely did that. They're shy creatures. And she had this feeling inside of her. It was as if the deer was beckoning her somewhere to follow. It was as if the deer could speak to her, but of course it couldn't. It was a deer. What did she have to lose? The girl was completely and utterly lost. And so she set off through the mountains, going higher rather than lower, following that beautiful, mysterious creature. It seemed to her that they travelled for a long time. Minutes turned to hours. Uphill and uphill, higher and higher across the rocks and the crags. The deer knew their way. She knew that if she would follow them at least, she wouldn't have to worry about losing her footing, about making a wrong step, for it was still misty. And in those mountains, where the coolings can be deadly, one step, and life as you know it is finished. Eventually, as the sun started going lower across the western horizons, and it got even colder and even darker and even more silent as the night was approaching, the girls saw that they had arrived at the entrance of a cave, hidden from view, a cave secluded in the mountains. She followed the leading deer. In the entrance of the cave, she saw two shapes in the shadows moving and talking. And there was an old woman and an old man. And they were talking, but in a language that she did not understand. Language as old as time. And the old man and the old woman, they stopped and they looked at her. And it is the old woman that got up first from her creaking chair with her creaking limbs. And as she approached the girl looked at her face. Her eyes, there was such depth in them, such worlds in them, the colour of them. She thought you might even get lost in her eyes that seemed to be as old as time. The girl started stuttering. She, out of nervousness, it seemed that she had lost her words. She asked the old woman, May I please stay the night? I've become benighted and I have lost my footing and my way and I don't know the way home and please. The old woman looked at the girl and shook her head to signal a no. The girl's head hung low. You may not stay here for a day, said the old woman, or a night. But if you wish to, you can spend a day and a year and a day. Then you will be welcome. For you see, I need help. I am not as a young woman as I used to be, and my hands hurt, and my back aches, and my feet are sore. I need some help. And if you wish to stay here in a day, then gladly you may spend the night here tonight. The girl didn't know what to answer, but she wanted to go back home to her family, to her own cottage, to her own fire. And then she looked in the cave once more, and then she saw the old man. The old man who looked into a pool of water. Dark, dark water pool. He was moving his hand over it, as if scrying in this pool of dark water. Something so beckoning, something so beguiling to the girl that something inside of her wanted to say yes. And so she agreed. She knew not to ask any questions. It was too early. There is a right time and a wrong time to ask questions. She looked forward to learning the craft and the magic behind this place. The very next morning, the old woman woke the girl up early, very early, and they went to pick herbs, specific herbs round the mountains and the glens and the gullies. They will pick such fragrant herbs. They will pick rosemary and thyme. They will pick valerian and mugwort. They will pick bog myrtle and lavender and all manner of herbs. And in the afternoon, after the hot midday sun, the herd of deer would come to be milked. The girl learned how to do everything. How to recognize useful herbs for those ones that had no use for their purpose. How to recognize them through their fragrance. Sometimes she had to wear a blindfold and pick them just by smell or touch alone. And she'd learn how to milk the deer, how to place the bucket just so it wouldn't get kicked, how to use her hand and squeeze in the right direction so that she wouldn't hurt the animals, and the milk would come sweet and bright and clean. And then the two women, the old one and the young one, they would sit there and sing and tell stories and mix in the bucket the herbs and the milk. And with their hands, they would take this mixture and shape it into crowdy, into a soft cheese. And then with their hard work done for the day, the work that had taken hours, but with much knowledge, then they passed the bucket to the old man. And the old man from his seat, he would stare into that pool of dark, dark water, scrying, looking, but it seemed like he wasn't looking into this world. He was looking into the world beyond. He was completely engrossed, completely enchanted by what he was seeing. Then he would take a lump of the crowdy cheese. He would work it with his hands, moulding into something, moulding and shaping and reshaping, sometimes with his eyes open, scrying, looking into that dark pool of water, sometimes with the eyes closed. Now is a good time to ask the question, thought the girl. and she looked over to the woman with inquiring eyes. "Ah," the woman said, "the old man is making dreams. And that dark pool of water, that is the pool of life." And as the girl was listening to her with her mouth agape, the old woman explained that they were the makers of dreams. And the old man would pick the crowdy cheese and started to raise his hand, left hand and right hand by his head with his eyes closed, and he would wait. He would stand there like a statue, sometimes for a few minutes, and the girl would wonder what would happen next. And then one by one, different birds started to swoop down into the cave and take the crowdy from the old man's hands. From the right hand, beautiful, majestic birds, the songbirds, the thrushes, the blackbirds, the eagles, the ospreys would take and fly with those dreams. And from his left hand, it was the crows and the ravens, and the jackdaws and those rooks and scavengers. Those birds would take the dreams. And from his right hand, those beautiful songbirds, the majestic birds, would take the crowdy and make the dreams into beautiful dreams, into hopes, into inspirations. And from his left hands, those ravens and crows, they would make the dreams into nightmares for humanity. For you see, the world needs both. As humans need beauty and nightmares. We need hope and we need fear. And the old woman explained that this was in fact how all dreams were made. With the dark pool of life and the winged ones to take the dreams out to everybody that slept in their beds. The girl carried on with her work. She learned more and more each day. She loved her job. If it could be called a job, it was dreamlike in itself. And while she was doing this work, she found that she couldn't dream. As the dream maker, dreams didn't come to her, and she missed it. Every day and every night, it was the same ritual. They would go and pick the herbs, those fragrant, beautiful herbs. They would milk the deer, the does. They would combine the two. They would pass the bucket to the old man who would shape the crowdy cheese, and the winged ones would come and take the dreams to humanity. And like this, day after day, week after week, month after month, time passed. Until one morning, as the old woman was wiping her hands on her apron, she told the girl that she could go. A year and a day had passed, and it was time for her to leave. And the girl was taken aback. Oh, she wanted to stay. This had been the most adventurous year of her life. But she missed her parents. She missed her family. She missed her sister. She missed the hearth of her cottage and her friends, all these lassies that she'd picked the blaeberries with. Oh, she wanted to see them again. And a deal had been a deal. And so she gave the old couple such a tight hug. "Thank you for everything," she would whisper. It was the deer that took her back to a clearing and took her down, down through the slopes. And the old woman and the old man walked a little way behind. They reached the shore. The shore, the girl thought. This wasn't the way back home. But at least it was down and not up. And so the girl began to walk along the beach. And the deer, they seemed to nudge her somehow to walk in this direction, a little bit here and a little bit there. And they were all staring out to sea and confused. For when do deer stare out to sea? She followed their gaze, and there was a little coracle boat. In the distance she could hardly make it out. She had to put her hand upon her forehead and stare into the distance, into the sea, and the coracle boat was getting closer and closer, and inside was one man. It was bopping across the waves. She waited, intrigued. She waited with a bated breath. She did not know why. And then when the boat stopped across the shore, there was a young lad, a young man, with beautiful rich clothes, with curly golden hair, with jewellery. He jumped out of the boat as soon as he reached, and with tears in his eyes and a big open embrace, he couldn't wait to tell her. "I found you," he said. "I can't believe it's you. My dreams led me here. I have dreamed of you every single night for a year and a day. Such beautiful dreams. I couldn't wait. I had to meet you, and so jumped on my boat and I rowed all the way here, and all these months have been dreaming to find you. I can't believe it's you. It's really you. I know you don't know me, but I think I know you. And I know you don't know me, but I love you. Please come with me. Please come on the boat and let me take you to where I come from, and you can be my queen. If you let me. If you have me." The girl heard the desperation in his voice, the love, the angst, the worry. She looked at his kind eyes, his beautiful curls, his beautiful jewellery and clothes, and out to the sea, that blue-grey sea, that would take her to another land of much adventure. What a year she's had. And time seemed to slow down. She thought of the old man and the old woman and the dreams that she had made for a year and a day. And she thought of her family, her parents and her sister. She looked at his eyes the colour of the ocean. "I can't," she said. "At least, not yet." There was such anguish in his face. But her last words had given him a glint of hope. "I need to see my family. You have been dreaming of me, but I don't know who you are. I haven't dreamt a single dream for a year and a day." "Of course, I understand," said the young man, knowing that if he pushed too hard, he may lose her. And so he had to hope that she would make the decision he wished she would make. And in order to keep her, he let her go. The girl hugged her parents. She hugged her sister. The familiar smell of the cottage. She went and played with her friends, those lassies where they had laughed so much together. She could not leave without letting her parents know that she had not perished. There was so much rejoicing. There was so much laughter, so many stories. She couldn't tell them too much about dream makers, though. She had been sworn to secrecy. Not many people can cope with such secrets of mysteries of the world. That night, she fell asleep, a deep slumber, and she dreamt. She dreamt such beautiful dreams. True dreams, she thought they were. She dreamt of a life in a distant, distant land, with a man, the eyes, the colour of the ocean, with curls of hair, beautiful clothes, and kindness in his face. And when she awoke early in the morning, she stretched out her body and had such a smile upon her face. She knew he was her true love. She made her goodbyes. They were happy this time. Her parents, her sister knew that she was going into a future full of hope, a future full of wonder, a future full of happiness. And so that young woman, she made her way to that beach, where the man with the coracle was waiting, looking forlorn, with teary eyes. He looked up as he heard her footsteps, and he jumped and laughed, and he spun her round. "You came back," he said. "I did." And so the young woman, leaving behind those deer, leaving behind the dream makers, leaving behind the Isle of the Mists. It was not one person but two on that little coracle boat, bopping on the waves. And they did live happily in their new home. And she, in the mornings, would pick herbs, pick rosemary and thyme, valerian and mugwort, bog myrtle and lavender. She would milk the deer, the does of that land, and make crowdy cheese. Then the winged ones would come, and dreams. The dreams would flow in the dark of night, and land on the pillows of the sleeping ones. I hope you enjoyed this story of dreams and hopes. I don't know about you, but I often wonder about where the dreams come from. Where have they been before they go in our heads and sometimes wake us up, and other times keep us awake, and other times we wish that we could be still in that dream full of beauty and hope. And maybe this is indeed where they come from. The crowdy cheese makers that form the dreams of humanity. I hope that this story has given you hope and dreams. To know that there is magic in the world. There is beauty in the surroundings. And then if you eat cheese, you'll probably have really vivid dreams. And just a reminder, the Bulgarian Folk Tales, my book, will be out on the 4th of June, and it's available for pre-order now. Thank you for choosing to spend a wee while listening to this tale. I hope that you carry it with you like a treasure in your pocket, and I look forward to seeing you soon next month for the beautiful few weeks. And come again, and maybe bring a friend. See you soon. Go well. Goodbye for now. Thank you to In Feathers, as always, for the beautiful music.